Let me bring in Melanie Sloan, Executive Director for the Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, a watchdog group that also filed a complaint last week against Senator Craig, and MSNBC congressional correspondent Mike Vicara. Thanks to both of you. All right, Melanie, what is your position right now about what should happen with Larry Craig?
Well, the Senate Ethics Committee should continue its investigation and should ultimately censure Senator Craig, as they should, by the way, also David Vitter, the senator who was soliciting prostitutes.
But they're not going to. I mean, there's sort of theory, and there's hope, and then there's reality. And the reality is that, and this is what I'm talking about, is when we get a bunch of lawyers trying to tell politicians what to do, we get into trouble. Because the bottom line is, you don't have to apply an equal standard under the law. It doesn't have to be objective. It can be subjective. They can say, we hate the idea of a U.S. senator potentially in a bathroom looking for sex. We are not as troubled by the idea of a U.S. senator going to prostitutes. I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying it's the reality, isn't it?
Sure, but they're also a lot more troubled by the concept of a U.S. senator being replaced by a Democratic governor with a Democratic senator than they are about a Republican governor replacing a Republican senator with another Republican. But I do agree with you that certainly the Senate Ethics Committee will apply its standard of improper conduct, which reflects upon the Senate, and they wrote that back in the 60s, intending it to be incredibly broad so that they could use it whenever they wanted to. So they won't be bound by any kind of precedent,
right.
And I think they're free, and I don't think the law requires them to do anything else.
All right, Mike Vicara, practical matter. What happens now? I mean, the Republicans, I assume, are angry about this, that this, quote, distraction is still there, correct?
Angry, frustrated, disillusioned. Today is the day where they have the policy luncheons in the Senate, and that's where all the staffers and all the members sort of gather and congregate, and that gives you all the information you know for the course of the week when you try to cover Congress. Today, when it was the Republicans' turn to clog the hallway, one staffer after another, a couple of members would walk up, express their frustration with the way this is playing out. They thought they had put this behind them. Senator McConnell came to the microphones attempting to dispel the confusion, as he put it, surrounding Senator Craig's intentions. He said the following. He said that in a telephone call today with Senator Craig made it very clear that he will, in fact, stay until his term is up next year if, in fact, he can turn this thing around, where he pled guilty and was convicted of disorderly conduct, a misdemeanor in the Minnesota airport. And a lot of what we heard, granted they weren't legal opinions from legal scholars around the Senate hallway, is the point is moot because that's not going to happen. They hope Senator Craig stays home in Idaho.
Well, let me ask Mr. Brand. Mr. Brand, and I don't mean this as callously as it may sound, but does Senator Craig care that that's the Republicans' response?
Well, I don't mean to be flippant responding, but I think the answer is no. They threw this man under the bus after a 27-year career of unblemished service, of loyalty to the party, without waiting for anything. And so I don't know that he, you know, he's not beholden to them at this point.
He's ready to take them on.
He's ready to take them on. They haven't done anything to show any balance towards him.
But, and Mike, I assume the Democrats' position on this is just going to be to stand back and watch.
Yeah. It's the give them enough rope school of public relations. They don't have a thing to say about this. Senator Craig has cited Arlen Specter as his champion among the Republican conference in the Senate. Senator Specter is, of course, the senior Republican on the Judiciary Committee. But Senator Specter marches to the beat of his own drummer. He's not exactly an acolyte or a strict follower or a confidant of leadership, and is reflecting a view that perhaps is limited to Senator Specter.
Well, here's what Senator Specter said on Fox News Sunday.
I'd still like to see Senator Craig fight this case. He left himself some daylight, Chris, when he said that he intends to resign in 30 days. I'd like to see Larry Craig go back to court, seek to withdraw his guilty plea, and fight the case.
Melanie Sloan, when Senator Specter says fight the case, does that mean the legal case, or to you does that also mean the political case?
Well, I think both, although I think Senator Specter was mistaken when he said that he thinks that Larry Craig really has a chance of withdrawing that guilty plea. That, as most lawyers will tell you, is almost impossible to withdraw a guilty plea. So I think that's going to be really tough, especially in the 25 days remaining. And as for the political case, I don't see how, without that plea being withdrawn, Larry Craig has a chance.
Yeah. Bottom line, Mr. Brand, I mean, you're not leading the legal case to try and withdraw his plea, correct?
No, that's Billy Martin's job.
Right. So your job strictly is with regard to the Senate Ethics Committee. Is there anything that you can do beyond sort of state his case? Is there anything behind the scenes, lobbying, the way politicians would do, that you can or will do?
No.
Mike Vaccaro, you believe him?
Absolutely. The man was the counsel for the House Ethics Committee. He knows what he's talking about.
All right. Stan Brand, thank you very much for coming on the
Dan.
program. Melanie Sloan and Mike Vaccaro, as always, we appreciate it.